Chap.6 Badshah Qaidi, a royal prisoner. Suppose a great king is made captive by his enemies. He is handcuffed, bound in chains, and put behind bars in a prison away from his capital. He is fed on a prisoner's poor diet, made to dress in a prisoner's uniform, and he lives among the prisoners. He is given very little food at the end of the day after subjecting him to rigorous, very strenuous hard labor the entire day. A part of his life passes while rotting in such a prison. Many years pass in this way. Living in a prison becomes a way of life, as he keeps company with other prisoners, converses with them, and lives with them day and night. It won't be a matter of surprise if this royal prisoner forgets his noble birth, his royal grandeur, his looks, his pedigree, and his royal deportment. All his royal power, enterprise, wisdom, intelligence, his armies, his royal treasures, his palatial royal mansions, his servants, his ministers and officials, his queen, and his royal life and dynastic lineage may all appear to be a dream to this prisoner. If someone approaches such a prisoner and shakes him by the shoulder and tells him that he is not a prisoner but a king, this prisoner will probably not believe the person telling him this. First off, the prisoner will feel that the informer is not telling him the truth. The prisoner is genuinely distrustful since he has taken imprisonment for granted. It's been a long time he's been a prisoner, and has taken his past royal life as false. But when once again he is shaken and alerted and reminded of his past life by pointing out the symbols and signs of his past political power, his courage, enterprise returns. He exhorted to feel that he is a sovereign, a dynastic sovereign born with a birthright to rule. He is incited to get up and jump out of the prison walls. He may reply with great laughter that he may indeed have been such a sovereign, but being helpless, unarmed, and completely without any power, tired with a life imprisonment, he has no energy left in his system to jump out of jail. If at all he had been a king, it might have been in the distant past. He may have another look at his surroundings, his fellow prisoners, his prison cell, his handcuffs and chains, and may say dejectedly that he is a pure prisoner in all respects. But even after this, if someone still persists and says that his chains and handcuffs can be removed, the prison doors can be opened, such a prisoner may go into deep thought. He may start thinking that even if his handcuffs are removed and the jail doors opened, even if he is set free, what shall he do after his release? He may think that since nobody will recognize him after such a long time, nobody will help him. He would probably feel extremely isolated and unfortunate among the new people and his new environment. After all these depressing thoughts, this prisoner will probably arrive at this conclusion, that for better or worse, he's fine wherever he is in his present state of being a prisoner. If the same person tells the prisoner he is a man of firm determination, encourages him to be resolute, if this person telling the prisoner persists as his well-wisher, he will once again remind the prisoner that he is neither a prisoner, nor is he destined to live among the prisoners, nor even is this prison meant to hold him. He may further say that his past is now over, and he should get up and follow him, since his royal throne is awaiting him. He may assure the prisoner that everyone will recognize him and give him the honor and respect that are due to a king. He may further have still not lost anything, and that all his human assets of physical energy, his great looks, his intelligence, his noble birth, His sense of steadfastness are still there. His royal position is calling to him to occupy his well-deserved throne. The moment this prisoner puts his trust in the person telling him this, that he will instantly take the former out of prison, since this person has the prison keys with him. Now suppose the person telling him this starts dragging the prisoner out without wasting any more time on persuading him, and so pulling and dragging the prisoner, he brings the prisoner out of the heavy, massive doors of the prison. Now both the prisoner and his sympathetic friend are out of prison. Now suppose, further, that as soon as they come out, this royal prisoner is greeted greatly by all his ministers, generals, and other dignitaries. He is garlanded by the servants and given a gun salute by his armed forces. Nobody thinks of him as a prisoner anymore. Everyone greets him as a great king. He is taken through various cities in a procession, with the royal guns giving a royal salute from a distance and in the background. And this royal procession reaches his capital with great pomp and show. He is again received in the capital city with another gun salute, showered with rose petals over his procession. The entire surroundings resound with the sound of welcoming songs. Several kinds of perfumes are sprinkled over the procession. He is taken to his royal palace, made to sit on the majestic throne, and a royal crown studded with diamonds and rubies is placed on his head, and his army commanders, as well as ministers and other high officials, are lined up on both sides of his throne. Then, suppose this king, recently restored to his throne, rises from his royal seat and falls at the feet of his friend who had released him from prison. The friend who had lifted him out of the depressing walls of his imprisonment and brought him out forcibly out of the prison walls. The king addresses his benevolent friend with folded hands and tells him that he has given him a new lease on life, made him a king again, and he feels as if he is born again. He asks his friend how should he serve him for making him a king out of a prisoner, and how can he repay his debt. He tells his friend further that everything, including his royal status, is the result of this friend's effort, his determination, his grit, and above all, his grace. Overwhelmed with his pent-up feelings of respect and gratitude for his friend, this king falls down, faints, and becomes unconscious. After a few minutes, he is brought back to his senses with a sprinkling of rosewater on his face, and he regains his consciousness. Now, in his full consciousness, the king appeals to his friend to reveal his identity. He begs the friend to disclose his relationship with the king and asks him the reasons for showing him such kindness, for showing him such grace. The friend smiles and tells the king that the so-called friend is the voice of his own soul. He informs the royal prisoner that he has always been a king and a soul, and that under the spell of an illusion and a dream, he was considering himself a prisoner and a physical being. His prison cell, his handcuffs, his chains, his spells of hunger and deprivation, his punishments were nothing but an illusion. Nobody could imprison him, he being a king. All his spells of imprisonment, his constraints, his limitations of life were his own self-creation. He himself got trapped in these self-created chains, these confinements of life, and he himself became a prisoner of these chains. He accepted his captivity and imprisonment voluntarily and according to his own will. He tried to forget and run away from his own self by surrendering voluntarily to his self-created inhibitions and mental blocks. Otherwise, nobody else could imprison him. But His true and real identity could not be eliminated even in these chains. The inner voice of his own soul had liberated him from his imprisonment. His act of liberation is also his own act of creation. His paying a tribute and debt of gratitude to his friend who had liberated him from imprisonment is also a tribute to his own self or his own soul. This soul had asserted itself and liberated him from his self-imposed imprisonment. So this thanksgiving is due to his own self. Apine aap sajeo, apine rachio nao. The Lord himself created his own self and assumed he himself the name. Apas ko ape adesh. God himself pays homage to his own self. After addressing the newly released prisoner, this friend, this benefactor, disappeared into thin air. His departing words to his object of liberation were that the protagonist was neither a prisoner nor a king. His first role, that of a prisoner, was the visible aspect of self, and the later role, that of the king, was the invisible aspect of his own self. The later incarnation of a king is really the soul or the spiritual aspect. It is beyond dimensions of space, time, physical or material shape. The soul is eternal, one composite whole, indestructible, self-created, beyond birth and death, and without any visible shape or dimension. We should awake and see and recognize this real self, this real soul, and become blessed forever. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji